a bit the main challenges you see for developing countries, for Latin American and Caribbean countries in particular, in reducing the technology gap with developed countries, the policy implications it has in the current stage of globalization?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very good question. I think that mostly the form that technological change is taking in the near future will be the reduction of jobs, and that's related to things like robots, artificial intelligence. That will lead to a large reduction in employment, and that's something that will affect both the developed world but also the developing world. But I think it will really affect the developing countries a lot, because the way for these developing countries to become developed has traditionally been to start with a very labor-intensive kind of production method and then to gradually gain competitiveness and to increase their productivity by using foreign technologies. I think that's going to be very difficult, because these countries will now not be able to do that, because labor will now be so cheap because of the kind of services that labor provide will be so cheap because of robotization and artificial intelligence, that they will no longer have a chance against these kind of technologies. And also, if they would be able to apply these technologies themselves, then there would not be a massive labor force that would benefit from it. It would only be a few people in these countries that own these capital goods, these machines, these robots, that would benefit from it. So I think, yes, indeed, it is going to be much more challenging for developing countries to catch up to the global frontier in this new world.
Thank you very much. So what are the policy implications that you see in terms of labor policies, in terms of science, technology and innovation policies, precisely to address this change of tremendous magnitude?
I think we really have to think about very drastic measures that can help us reduce this tremendous inequality that could potentially come from these technologies. So I think we have to think about something like a basic income, which will be provided to people even if they do not work. We have to think about severely taxing some of these technologies, and I think we have to think about a whole range of other kind of things which will make the inequality that comes from the introduction of these technologies a lot smaller.
And do you see a particular role for education, in particular to address this new world of work that we don't completely apprehend?
I think education is very important, but what is really different about these technologies compared to the past is that they tend to affect labor at all kinds of skill levels. So it's even people with a university degree who would be affected by this. It's not only the non-skilled workers that are affected, whose jobs are being replaced. That used to be the case in the past, and then of course the answer was, well, then skill them, educate them so that they will be able to get the jobs that remain. But that's no longer the case. So I think, although education of course is very important, that's perhaps not one of the key issues that can solve this issue.
So you see basically a need for a much more comprehensive approach in terms of policy tools?
Yes, indeed, yes. Yeah.